look at services like GitHub Actions or Bamboo pipelines. These things are little, coupled, or they are within the context of the application itself. So, for example, if I have something like a web application, okay, and it is hosted on GitHub. What I can do is when I do a commit, or when I do some sort of pull request, what I can do is, based on some rules, I can build my application on GitHub, and I can deploy that same application somewhere else. So from the last lecture, the third one, SSH and GitHub Action, we did the exact thing. What we did was basically we created a simple web application. Within that web application, we do some changes and we commit those changes to sorry, we develop the application, we commit those changes to the GitHub branch, and we have set some GitHub actions. So based on sorry, so based on the branch we are in, and based on what we have committed, what we do is we trigger automatic build. Okay, so basically every time that I do a code push to a specific branch or specific probably specific branch, sometimes we do it on tags as well, but in this scenario we will be kicking out automatic build system. Okay, so every time our application builds, we will deploy that application using GitHub Action in Firebase. So it's simple as that. But sometimes what we need is, it's okay to use such and such systems, okay? But sometimes you might need something custom. Especially, we would need such system if we have like using GitHub Action, Bitbucket pipeline. Those are okay within some limits, but there are sometimes there are constraints that the applications, the CI/CD pipeline does not support, especially something coming into the cost. Okay, so any applications that we build on GitHub Actions or Bitbucket pipelines, they're having some free tiers. That means you get X amount of build time. So for example, if your application takes 10 minutes to build, okay, that is considered as a build time. There are some extra steps that would require few here and there minutes, okay, depending on your project. Sometimes they need, sometimes they do not. So based on your building time, how much hours that, or how much minutes that you're spending on building, they are billing for that. Okay, the computational power is not free, so ultimately you have to pay. But say for example, you have to pay a lot of money if you are frequently building, and if you're concurrently building application. The cost of running a CI/CD pipeline on GitHub Actions or then Bitbucket pipeline or something similar, there are other services as well, will be costly. Okay, so sometimes we need such service with our control. That means we need to do the buildings and everything. So it's cheaper to build it ourselves, and we can automate the rest of the things. So at this point, the easiest solution, one of the oldest solution before the GitHub Actions or Bitbucket pipelines comes in, one of the popular CI/CD pipeline tools are Jenkins. Still, some organizations use that, but the the purpose of this lecture is just to give you guys, okay, there are some CI/CD pipeline tools that you can customize. Of course, Jenkins is one of them. There are other CI/CD pipeline tools which you can use, like Spinnaker, and there is one in Go. I can't remember the exact name. So there are like a lot of options out there, but Jenkins is like one of the oldest CI/CD pipeline and automation tools that you will find. So we'll learn about that. Okay, learn some basic things. Most of all, what I want to teach you guys is some Docker related theories on rather than learning Jenkins. You guys will be learning a lot of Docker related things. Okay, so that's the purpose of this. So as I mentioned, I have downloaded the Docker image. Okay, now I'm trying to run a Jenkins server in my machine and trying to get it working. That's my purpose in here. So how I am going to do that? First of all, the easiest thing that I would do is Jenkins Docker image. So this is the official Jenkins image. Okay, probably I'll be using the open source version, Jenkins. Okay, so this is the current supported version, at least the maintained version. You will find something like old Jenkins version, which is still deprecated. So they will show you a new version. By the time of recording, this is the version that you will find. So I'll be using, I think if I'm not mistaken, let me check Docker images. I downloaded Jenkins. The tag is Alpine 3.9 JDK 21. So this is the image that I downloaded. Let me see. Yes, this one is the one I downloaded. You can use something else based on your needs. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run Jenkins server and see whether it is working or not. So the basic thing that I would do, normally, if you go to Docker Hub, you'll get a set of instruction how you guys can get things started. In here, Jenkins have documentation, read the documentation for usage. So we'll go there and try to understand what's going on in here. Okay, so Jenkins, the continuous integration and delivery server. Okay, that's obviously what it is. You can learn about Jenkins if you want. Right now, I'm trying to get Jenkins up and running. Okay, so let me zoom in so you guys can see much clearer. The first thing you guys can see, there is a Docker run command. So obviously this will be running, and you guys can see at the end the image itself, image name itself, the image that I want to run a container based on. Okay, so there are a couple of things in here, okay, in between. So we will learn about these things and how we can use what are the use cases of these things. So anyone knows what this argument do? Okay, minus p 8000 : 8000. Anyone have an idea? Anyone who tried or anyone can guess what's going on here? Raise your hand or you will chat it. You guys can even chat what that piece of argument will do to our container. Yes, anyone? Any guesses? What minus p 800, 8080 : 8080 would do? Yes, anyone? Right. So basically, we call this as a port mapping. So you guys know when we are running a Docker image, a Docker container, the container run in kind of a sandbox kind of environment. Okay, So in this environment, what happens is uh, the Jenkins server by default is running on, I think, a Tomcat server. I'm not sure, but Java, some Java related service. And when we start that server, Jenkins server starts on port 8080. Okay, port 8080 is the port that is going to be used for running Jenkins. But it will be an internal port if we do not expose it to the outside world. That means if you do not pass this variable, the whatever that is running in the container port 8080 won't be accessible from the host port 8080. Okay, so by simply passing this argument, and what we'll do is we say, okay, let's do a port mapping. Whatever the service that is running on port 8080 on the container will be mapped to the host machine port 8080. That means whatever we are running on port 8080 in the container is accessible in our host machine's port 8080. Okay, this is what we call a port mapping. So someone can guess what this does? Yes, now as I explained what this does, it should be quite obvious what this one does. Yes, anyone want to take a guess? Anyone who is brave enough to answer? Yes. So you guys can see that's the same argument, right? Minus p and some number colon some number. So what does this mean? Yes. Lakshan, Shehani, Satintra, Ashan, Kumudu. Yes, anyone? Yes. Any guesses? Come on, guys. It's right or wrong. You guys have to like guess. So what happens in here is kind of the same thing here, only the numbers have changed. Yes, any guesses? Anyone? Come on. Dulshani, Ashraf, Ishwar, Sankar. Yes, anyone? Should be simple, pretty simple. No answers. Sad. So basically, it's the same thing that I have discussed in here. So minus P is what we call a port mapping. But in this scenario, port 50,000 in the container, for 50,000 on the port, for 50,000 in the container is mapped to the port 50,000 in our host. So that means whatever happens in port 50,000 is going to be mapped for 50,000 within our uh, host machine. Okay, so whatever that is running on 50,000, it can be a web service or it can be some sort of another protocol, whatever the service that is running on port 50,000 is accessible from host port 50,000. So that means I'll take this example because I know for sure that port 8080 in here is a HTTP service. That means we can visit this one using our web browser. So if I run this Docker container and if I type in localhost colon 8080, I can connect to the Jenkins server, which is running on the container port 8080. Okay, so the container port 8080 is mapped to port 8080 in my local host or simply host. So same goes to port 5000. The 5000 port is used for agents. Okay, we'll see about agents later on. And the next argument is the dash dash restart. Okay, so we call this as like restart policy. So the restart policy is something that indicates when we are running the container, when will the restart will happen. If I want to restart the application, how it's going to happen. So in here, the restart will happen on failure. That means if for some reason, sorry, if for some reason the Jenkins server was not able to continue anymore, is failing, then what will happen is the container will restart itself. Okay, so how the how does the Docker daemon knows this container has failed? It's not running or there is an error. Basically, it's gonna go with system exit code. Okay, any program that is exiting without the system code 0 considered a failure. Okay, any application that is running and if any application gracefully shut down or gracefully exiting, we have the exit code called 0. But anything other than that, if any failures come in and due to that failure, the program stop, the exit code will be not 0. Ah. Sorry. So for some reason, when we are running the container and the exit code is so exit code is not 0, then we consider that as a failure. Okay, we can even try that in shell script if you like. You can exit the execution with 0 or 1, and it will say whether the exit code is 0 or not. If it is 0, 1, that is a graceful shutdown, or if it is -1, it is not a graceful one, that is some with error. So, sorry, using that error code, Docker daemon would say, okay, there is a failure that is going on that container. For some reason, Jenkins has failed or something related to Jenkins is failed. On that scenario, what will happen is the container will restart. That means it will restart the server once again. It's like rerunning the application again. And obviously, this is very simple. This is what we call the image name. So if I run this, it will run the server on port 8080 without an issue. So let me try. Only thing that I have to do is I have a different image name. I need to be changing on that. Let me copy that. And I will do some modification on it. What is the image? Alpine, this one. So I am gonna modify the command. There you go. I'm gonna run this. Okay. So basically, you guys can see, since I haven't run in a daemon mod, uh, it is giving some things, and you can see Jenkins initial setup is required as admin user. Create a password generator. Please following password for installation. So they are giving me like admin password. So I have to copy this. Okay, I'll keep it as a remembered one. Now I need to complete the Jenkins setup. So right now I just run the application, but I haven't completed the uh, uh, things in here. Okay, so what I can do is I can go to my web server, as we discussed, whatever running on port 8080 in the container now accessible in port 8080 in my local machine. So if I say localhost local host port 8080. Okay, 8080. Now you guys can see it's not showing a page error, page not found, or something like that. It's saying, okay, this is Jenkins setup, getting started, unlock Jenkins. So within the log file, you will have this um, file, or if you guys can remember, when I started, they showed me this file, right? They showed me this key. Okay, you use that key to unlock. Okay, but in here you guys can see, if not, you can go to var Jenkins home secrets initial password. From there you can even get that password. Okay, so you can you can if you for some reason you run this in daemon mode. Okay, that means if you run this in background, you won't see this log, right? You won't see this log. In that scenario, the initial admin password would be stored in this location. Now remember, this location, what they are mentioning is, it is not the host but the content. Okay, so if something comes up in like this, do not waste your time finding this in your local uh, file system, but you will find this in the containers file system. Okay, so if I want, I can go and get information from here. One thing, if you guys can remember, we can use what we call the attach function, if you guys can remember. So if I say docker ps, now I have a running Jenkins server. This is the Jenkins container that I am running. So I can say docker exe minus id container name bin bash. Normally bash is like the default one. Okay, so I have attached to the running container right now, that is the Jenkins server that I have started. All of a sudden you can see the name has changed, so that means I am in the right path. So if I want to go this location var Jenkins homes secrets initial admin password, I would find the information. So just in case I want to show off you guys that, so I can see that by using the cat command, like we seen last time. We zoom in, so you guys can see. So it's in var Jenkins homes. What is the next thing again? Can't see clearly. Let me clear it. Cat var Jenkins homes secrets initial admin password. Okay, there you go, the same password that that we got when we start the application. It's in here. Okay, so just in case somebody forgot it, make sure you execute you attach to the container that is running, and look at the content of this file using cat command, which give us the initial password. So I'm going to exit from the container, then I'll be back on my machine, and I am going to give the initial password that I found in the file and hit continue. Okay, so I don't want to save these things, no worries. And the next thing is like installing the customized Jenkins plugins. So what I'll do is, while this is running, while even though we are learning Docker and Jenkins at the same time, we'll just um, uh, these plugins. So the plugins will help us to uh, customize Jenkins. Okay. So in this scenario, you guys can see a lot of plugins are being downloaded. Okay. So there is a folders, timestamper, pipeline, Git, LDAP, uh, build tools, credential building, Gradle, and a lot of things is being installed. Okay, so while it is going on, um, these are like the uh, things that help us when we are creating Jenkins build systems. Okay, we'll see those things in later on. If you want, I can go to the initial password in here, continue. Okay, now it's anyhow it is started. So it's gonna install these things. Okay, I'll let it running. While it is running, we'll learn some Docker things. Okay, so basically, Jenkins is doing its job, installing its plugins, which will need to work. Okay. So let's find out few other things in here. So we know about port mapping in here. Okay, restart failure, that one we also know. And there is another one that we find in here, that is -v. Okay, so -v is another Docker argument, or Docker argument that we can use. So by simply what I'm going to do, okay, let me uh, for one moment, what I'll do is I will stop this one. Okay, otherwise I'll have to download this again and again. So what I'm going to do is, this one is running. I will disrupt the execution by Control C. That means I'm disrupting the running Docker command. If I say Docker PS, so I have no running Docker images, Docker PS -a, which will show me the last Jenkins. So I'm going to delete this one. Okay. The reason is I'm going to be using something else, the volumes, so that will give you guys more insight on that. So Docker RM. Okay, I removed the container holes, but we got the point of how we can run and do the initial running and everything. The reason I stopped the server is I want to give you guys something good or something useful in this scenario, the -v argument, or what we call the volume. Okay, so if you guys can remember, when we execute the Docker containers, okay, we do stuff within that container. Okay, we do like install programs. In this scenario, you guys can see that I started to download Jenkins plugins. Okay, I started to install Jenkins plugins. So whatever the plugin that I have installed within the container, as soon as I delete the container, everything that I have downloaded within that, within the Jenkins servers, is gone. Okay, I don't have any access to whatever the things within that container. Okay, so what will happen is, say for example, if you are running something like a database. Okay, so for some reason we are using the database in a Docker container, and all of a sudden I stop the container and I delete the container. What will happen to all the data that we have saved in the container itself? So all the information will be gone, will be no longer there, because as soon as we remove the container, all the information stored within that container is gone. It is like we are creating a full-blown machine, okay? And at the end, we are destroying the hard disk. Okay, you can't recover the information. There might be recovery tools that will help, but it's not going to be pleasant one. Okay, so anything that we do within the application, anything that will happen will be gone by destroying the one, not by stopping it. Okay, if you stop the container, the information remains. As soon as you stop and delete or remove the container, every information within that container is gone. So What if there is a way that we can persist the data that we have within the container in our host machine? Okay, that means something like sharing information within the host and the container. So what if we can do something like that? So that is an ideal solution or ideal thing that we can do with volumes. Okay. So basically, simply a volume is a space that is connecting to the container itself. It's like mounting a hard disk to a physical machine. Okay. So you mount a physical hard disk. Let's take the sorry. Let's take the example of we are mounting a hard disk into a machine, and whatever the things that we do, we save those information in the hard disk. Okay. For example, let's assume we attach a hard disk into our machine, and uh, whatever the lecture note that we download will be within that hard disk. Okay. So after that, even the machine is deleted, not the hard disk. Even after everything that is deleted, as long as you have the unformatted hard disk, you have all the information there. Okay. You can plug that hard disk to another machine. Okay. Then it still works. Okay. Since those information stored in a volume that is outside. Okay. It's like external hard disk that you plug into your machine, whatever you download in the external hard disk. And once you remove the machine, the external hard disk still keep the information. You can plug that volume to another machine and still the information shows up. Okay. The same thing that we do in here is something like that. So with the minus V argument, what we could do is we are creating a volume. Okay. It's like attachable disk space, let's assume. Okay. We are creating an attachable volume. Volume name is called Jenkins Homes. And what is the destination that we are going to be attaching? We will be attaching var Jenkins Homes. Okay. So whatever the information within the containers var Jenkins Homes would be stored in the volume Jenkins Homes. So you might ask, okay, we are attaching a volume where this volume lives. We are if you ask, okay, uh, how do we explore that? How are we going to see that? We'll see that in a little bit later. Right now, what we're going to do is we are saying that, okay, there is a volume called Jenkins Homes. Whatever you find in var Jenkins Homes will be stored in Jenkins Homes volume. Okay. So for any reason, we delete this container, okay, by simply saying docker rm and the container ID. We delete the container, but if you do not delete the volume, all the information that was stored in var Jenkins Homes will be available in Jenkins Homes. So next time, if you don't want to download everything, if you just want to take the usage of stored information which you will find on Jenkins Homes, if you want to use that, simply you have to run another container, but you have to give the same name that we have used for the volume in the previous container and mount it back. And it is like the volume that you see in the host will be attached to the container specified location, this location in here. Okay. So it won't, it will, whatever, say for instance, Jenkins Homes will add some files in here, it will be reflected on Jenkins Homes. Okay. So that is something that you guys should know. So what I'm going to do is I am going to run another container with appended command. That is minus V. That means I am creating a volume and I am attaching to that, attaching this container. So I'm gonna run that once again. So this time, only difference that I did was I attached my directory within the container to a volume. So I copy the initial password, go back to setup wizard. If I go localhost 8080 again, so Jenkins is still working. That means there are some things going on. We have to give some time till Jenkins is ready. Yep, your browser will reload. That means still Jenkins is not ready. We'll give some time for Jenkins to start up. Okay, now we can see Jenkins, the initial admin password, which I copied from here, or I can find this in secret initial. So as you guys can remember, we mount var Jenkins homes into our volume Jenkins homes. So in here, you guys can see when we ran the application, anything a volume is volume called Jenkins homes will be created, and whatever the content of Jenkins var Jenkins homes will be stored in this volume called Jenkins underscore home. So if you guys pay close attention in here, the secret that we have looked upon earlier on will be in this volume as well. Why? The reason behind is everything that stored in this location is in the volume itself. So secret initial password is also going to be within that volume. Okay. So we can assume that within this volume, Jenkins Homes volume, we will find the initial password. Okay, so let me show you guys a trick how we can easily look into these volumes sort of things. Okay, I'm not sure whether they still have it. Yeah, I think they have it. Yeah. You guys can see my screen, right? New share. I need to share this code. Okay. Okay. Hope you guys can see my screen. So right now I have another trick that I would say that would easy our life. Okay. That is the Visual Studio Code extension called Docker. If you do not see this extension in here within Visual Studio Code, you can go to extension section and search for Docker. Okay, that is from Microsoft. And once you install it, you will see something like this. So it will be helpful, a lot of helpful if you are working with development time, or if you guys are running on Docker desktop, you can also utilize that. But I prefer to use Visual Studio Code, which is much more easier. As a developer, I spend a lot of time in Visual Studio Code, and it will be easy me to look into Docker related stuff with VS Code, so I don't have to leave to Docker desktop. So in here, if you guys look at, so there is a section called images. So these are the images that we have. Okay, these are the images that I have downloaded within my machine. If it is something similar to what I will get if I execute Docker images. Okay, so this is doing so yeah, this is the same thing. And there are like registries, networks, volumes. Okay, so if you guys can see, there's a separate section called volumes. If you look at here, you will find some name is familiar. That is the Jenkins homes. So if you guys can remember, when we are executing the command, we created a volume -v Jenkins homes. If there is no volume, it will be automatically created. Okay, right now it is created a volume. Another way that we can see all the volumes in here is if I say Docker volumes ls volume. Okay, it's the same thing. You guys can see the driver and volume name. There you go. You have Jenkins homes. But the thing is, it will be a little bit difficult to explore the Jenkins homes, but within yes, within so within VS Code, we can have a little bit trick. Okay, we right click on the we'll right click in this volume, and if I hit is not inspect, think explore in dev container. So they have a way of logging into that and trying to see the content. So there is a dev container section, which basically what it does is it's injecting some code into the uh, Docker environment, and we'll be able to see what's going on in there. Okay, so running right now, they are starting the dev container. Okay, so basically, it will allow us to see what's inside it in the volume. Okay. It's taking a little bit of time because of the downloading dev container, but I want to like give you guys how we can look into the volume itself. Okay. Of course, there are other tools that you can use, especially if you go to what we call the uh, Docker desktop. You have the same things, something similar at least, and then you can explore the things as well. Okay, so till that one is booting up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what we have in here. This code is taking a little bit of time because we have to install the codes, but as I mentioned, we can use our other friend. Code Chrome. Is Docker desktop, Docker desktop. I don't see Docker desktop. It's weird. Okay. Now, so this is the if you guys can remember, this is the Docker desktop. If you're in Windows or if you're in Mac, you would probably have something like this. If you're in Linux, you won't probably need Docker desktop. But in here, you have the same thing called images. Under here, you will see Jenkins Homes. So now you guys can see there are a lot of files that is available, which is generated from uh, Jenkins itself, but you will find something called secrets. And there you go, you have the initial password, which we looked upon earlier on. If you double click, it will show the content in here in plain text. You can work with that if you like. So there are two ways. Either we can use the VS Code extension, or you can use Docker Desktop in order to look into volumes. The same way, you guys can go to the containers in here. Okay. So now you guys can see the Jenkins server is running in here. Okay. You guys can see that this is a container. Let me look it up. And if I click on it, and you guys can see all the logs, okay, that is in there. And there is a section called files, which allow us to look into the file system of the container that we are in. So in here, we'll go to the same volume that we have in the volume section and the container. So it should be same. So we have attached var Jenkins Homes into a volume of this, and you guys can see it's having the same content. Okay, so right now I am looking at the container itself. Okay, and the container, it's having the initial password and everything, is only this location. If you guys see, under var Jenkins Homes, whatever we have, the cache, Java, everything that we are seeing in the container is only mapped to the volume. Okay, var Jenkins Homes is only mapped to the Jenkins home volume. Okay, nothing other than that. Okay, anything under that it is there, but anything other than the outside of the container is not visible for us. Okay, so that you guys can see, we only uh, attach the volume of the directory that we have fold it to fold it to work with. So everything that you find here is not there, only var. Sorry, Jenkins Homes is binded to our volume. Okay, so remember when we are mounting volumes, only the specified path will be binded. Okay, hope VS Code is ready. Unfortunately not. Bad luck, guys. So it's taking a little bit time. So I will remote close that connection. But anyhow, if you have a good internet connection, you will be able to get that running. The same thing that we have seen in Docker desktop, something similar will be there. But other than that, in here, you guys can see that the running containers, even in here, you guys can see. So you guys can see that Jenkins in here. And if I say files, the same thing. I can explore the files like I normally do. In addition to what we call, in addition to what we see in Docker Desktop, the good thing in here is that we can actually explore like a normal file explorer. If I go to location like var, Jenkins Homes, and secrets and initial password, and you guys can see this button in here, or this download button. If I say open in here, now you can open that file within the container within your VS Code. Okay, so if I do something change around here, it will be reflected. So for example, if I say yes, okay, and okay, this is something else. And if you guys can see this unsave, if I save in here, now if I go back in here, if I look the volume, Jenkins Homes, secrets, initial password, you guys can see within here, it is updated. I'm not sure within Docker Desktop we are allowed to edit. Okay, it's allowing us edit at least some simple files. So that's good. If I go back to VS Code, it's not like showing in directly. We have to open this. I think this one did not save for some reason. Save. Do we have a save button? Okay. Maybe. I don't know. Should be saved. I'm not sure why it is not. But anyhow, you guys get the point. We can edit in here and VS Code without an issue. Okay, so you guys get the concept behind volumes, and I have showed you guys without running a lot of commands. But remember, you guys have to remember those commands. Individual, we can see the file system. We can we don't have the access to the shell at least, but you guys can get a lot of things done at least looking at the files and everything. Okay, same thing you can do within the, if you're using Docker Desktop. Okay, you can see the logs. Inspection, we'll look into these things. One other thing that you can do is you can directly communicate the shell. That is also a plus point in Docker Desktop. Okay, if you want something like this, you can do it in Docker Desktop if you like. Okay, so there are two ways that I have explored. Of course, we can always use the commands. Okay, Docker exe, Docker volume ls, those kind of things to see. If you want more control, if you want more GUI way, I think probably you would use something like this. Okay, so anything that you do in here is reflected on the container itself as well. Okay, so I have unlocked Nope. So I will say select plugins to install. So these are like the plugins that we need. I'm not going to use and or Gradle, so I'm going to leave it out. So I think others are like quite small ones. Of course, Git we should have. User management, I don't need LDAP, PAM, matrix, don't need those things. Email extension, these extension might be a little bit helpful, but right now I don't know, need those things. So I'm like customizing everything. Build step. One thing I would like is called, okay, blue version is not here. That's that. Okay, anyhow, let's go with these tools. Okay, these are the plugins that we might need all the time. Yep, and we hit install. Okay, so right now it is installing all these plugins that would needed to run Jenkins. Okay, so not like last time. If you remove the container, don't worry, all the plugins that we have installed would be within the volume. Okay, so how do I know that? For sure, I think it's in the file system. If you look at the logs, you can see what is going on right now within the Jenkins server. Okay, and if you go to files, if you go to Jenkins, var, Jenkins Homes, probably there is a where's that? Yeah, this plugin. You guys can see the plugins are changing because it is installing all those new plugins. Okay, so new plugins are adding in here. So even though we remove the container, the volume is containing all this information. The volume is having all the plugin details. So next time, if I attach this volume to another uh, Jenkins container, so it knows, okay, we have set up Jenkins, we have plugins downloaded, we don't need to go through that same setup process again. Okay, so this is good, very good when we are doing testing, or if you are changing the version. So for example, right now I'm using Jenkins based on Alpine 3.9 JDK 21. All of a sudden there is JDK, let's say 22. Okay, I need to just download the image, attach the volume and run it, and it should work perfectly. Unless there are breaking changes, I can't guarantee that. Say, for example, in JDK 22 and the plugins directory has changed for something else, then it won't probably work. But that kind of breaking changes are very rare. So you get all the new version, okay? You can remove the old container, but all the information that is within that container will remain in the volume. As soon as you remove the container, the volume still remains. And if you attach that volume to a different container, you get the same information within that container itself. Okay, so that is good in terms of updating, checking out things, so you don't have to download again and again and again. Okay. Okay, it's taking ages to download, but I'll allow it as the moment. I hope I have enough data. Okay, so next thing I would do, so we talked about ports, we talked about volumes, and somewhat on these things. And one other thing in here, -d, that is something new. That's what I mentioned in daemon mod. Okay, that means whenever we are running, you guys can see that this terminal that I started the application is using that. That means it is dedicated to that process only. Okay, this process is taking up this container, and it is attached to this. So if I hit Control C, or the exit command, the container will shut down. Okay, but if I run anything on daemon mode, what will happen is it will run on the background. That means I don't hog my currently running terminal. The server would be running on a different the server would be running on a daemon mode, that is the not within the running container itself, but something underneath. So it will be easy for us to get that one in place. Okay. All right. Give me a second, guys. Okay, sorry about that. So right now we looked into a few commands, the daemon mod and the things. I will exit. Exit Docker desktop. Still, I think it will be taking a little bit of time. It's these things might take a little bit times. I'll allow it. So any other commands, backing up data. So you get more information in here. So if you want to back up everything, if you do not have a volume or something like that, you can do this kind of thing. Another command that I would like to introduce is docker cp. Okay, so if I want to copy some content from my application, from my container to my host machine, I can use the docker cp command. Okay, so this is the cp command in action. Let me show you guys what do you mean. I'll go to my terminal once again. Right now I'm going to cd into my directory. There are a lot of things, mkdir, gen cp, I'll call that cd gen cp. Okay, so right now I'm in here within my local machine. Gen cp is the directory that I'm in. So what I can do is I can copy some files or folder using the docker cp command followed by the container id. Okay. Uh, so the container id is needed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say docker ps, and I can get the current container id, which is responsible for uh, running a docker container. So next thing that I'm going to say docker cp and the container id and the file that I want to copy. So I know for sure Jenkins Homes is there. Jenkins Homes, and I can say secrets. And what was the file again? Was it initial admin password? Okay, I'm not gonna type that in. Probably I would misspell it. So I'm gonna go and var Jenkins Homes secrets. Admin. I can call. So you have the in VS Code, we can have the download option here, which is kind of the similar cp command, but I'm going to show it in here. Anyhow, I think I have to write it. In initial admin password. Container. Okay, I have to put the path where I'm going to copy it. Could not find var any initial admin password. Did I misspell? Initial admin password, that's the one, right? Initial admin password. think I have, let's copy the whole secrets directory. Oops. So that is not much. Could not find Jenkins home. See, let's copy Jenkins homes then, everything. Okay, so you guys can see, I think I have misspelled something. So I have successfully copied everything. So in GenCP, by ls now, you can see the Jenkins homes is here because I used the Docker CP and the container and the directory that I want to copy and the destination. I'm not sure whether you guys can see there's a dot in here. That means this location. Right now I am in GenCP. So whatever that you find in this container and this location, copy it to here. That means the current host directory. Okay, so that's why it's have copied all Jenkins home in here. So if I say Jenkins homes and secrets initial, okay, and the initials, I think, oh, there is. Okay, since this is file, you can't have it. So initial password is here. So what I'm gonna do is, since I am knowing the so I just deleted that. I'm gonna run the docker cp command once again. Okay, but this time probably I have the correct spellings, hopefully. Initial admin password, but it's in separate. Okay, now you guys can see I perform a docker cp docker copy command, the container itself and the file itself, file or directory. And where do I want to copy it? Current directory. Okay, so if I ls now in here, you guys can see the initial password is copied into my local machine wherever I wanted that to be. So that's docker cp, another command, another theory that we have used. Okay, and yeah, so there are like a lot of other things that is related to Jenkins. Okay, so we can customize Jenkins on different ends. So I will leave up to you guys to find other variables and other parameters. For one thing, this dash env, what this does. Okay, so I'm not gonna spoil it for you guys. You guys to find out. What do you understand by dash env and whatever the things that we are providing? Okay, have a look around what this does. Okay, so that's one thing, and you don't need these things by now. We'll create a Docker file later on. Okay. Da, da, da. These are like custom things. We will discuss those things in steps furthermore. Right now, what I want to do is something like that. We'll learn the Docker Compose upcoming lectures. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. What we can get from Docker side in terms of running a Jenkins server. Okay, so what I'm doing in here, rather than teaching you Docker separately and Jenkins separately, we have combined that. Okay, by combining, we can see what sort of things that we can do. Okay, so back to setting up Jenkins, you can see the instance configuration. So it is asking the Jenkins URLs. I'll go with the default Jenkins URL. Okay, save and finish. Your Jenkins is set up. Start using Jenkins. Okay, we'll see what it looks like. Okay, there you go. So we have Jenkins set up in our application, in our machine. Okay, so we learned few things about Jenkins. Basic setup, of course. We haven't done anything other than that. And we have learned few new Docker commands. Okay, that's it. So any questions up until this regarding setting up Jenkins or Docker? Raise your hand, or you have the time to ask anything. Anything that you guys did not get? Mhm. Yes, anything? Mm. Any questions? Now is the time. Okay, great. So next thing what we're gonna do is we'll be looking in uh, um, next thing that we're gonna do is we'll be setting up Jenkins. Okay, so probably we'll take a separate lecture on this. It's gonna be really long, so we'll take that one in separate. Okay, so anything with related to this, you can ask question. Okay, not, I'll stop sharing and stop recording.